just right in the mood.
Hello, Amesy here for Amesy's Antics. Welcome to my channel. Hope you're well today because we have another crafty project to have a look at. Now this week I thought I would try out my hand at a bit of hand sewing in the form of an embroidery wall art piece. Now you may know from past videos, I will link them above, especially the eye mask one, my hand sewing skills aren't the best or the neatest, so I thought why not have a practice and get some really nice wall art by doing some embroidery. So I headed online and bought an embroidery wall art kit. You get everything you need to create the piece in this kit, and I thought I would take you on my journey of how I created this lovely piece, as well as give some tips and tricks of how to do certain embroidery stitches in this. So if it sounds like something you would like to have a look at, then let's get crafting. So this is the Jenny Blair kit, and I have gone for the tropical theme, and you have everything in here that you need to create this little bit of embroidered wall art, and I think that's amazing because I'm so new to embroidery I would not know where to start. So what you get in the pack is an embroidery needle with a lovely little sticker saying happy stitching. There's so many nice touches to this kit, and then you have some lovely embroidery thread in the different colours. Now I think what you do is split some of this down when you put it in your needle, so I'll find out how to do that. Some lovely little cards from her, so if you want to check her out, she is Jenny Blair on Etsy. Of course you get your embroidery hoop, which you need for it, the design that is printed for you to follow the stitching guide, which is going to be so useful because I would be terrible doing this more freehand, so I really do need a guide. So that's really good, and the purpose of the embroidery kit, I guess. And then you have this great instruction guide. So it tells you what colours that you need to do and what stitch you need to do for each part of the stem and the ferns and all the leaves, which is great. A little bit of information on how to complete it. And then if you are completely new to embroidery like I am, the different stitches that you need to complete the wall hanging. So this is going to come in very useful, although I am sure I'm probably going to have to head to YouTube if I can't quite follow these picture diagrams. Sometimes I just find it easier to watch somebody do it a few times than try and figure it out from a picture, but we'll see how it goes. The first thing to do was to align the embroidery material in the hoop, so I just placed this in and then tightened it so that the material is nice and taut, and then it was time to split the embroidery floss. So in a normal strand you will get 6 strands. If you split this in half, so it's 3 strands each, this makes it a lot easier to sew with, and then just knot it at the end before starting. There is other methods of starting stitches, but I just went with the knot. And then the first stitch to do was the satin stitch. So to do a satin stitch, all you do is bring the needle up at one point, take it down a small stitch in the other, and then bring the needle back up next to that starting point and keep going until you have got that area filled, if that makes sense. And that was the first stitch complete. So just to finish this off, I turned it around and just threaded my needle through some of the stitches and created a loop just to create a knot to secure that thread in place. Then the next stitch to complete was a stem stitch, and to do this all you do is place your needle down and up through the material. Begin by forming a loop, but instead of bringing the needle down, bring it to back where you first started that stitch or just before that stitch, and bringing it back up so the thread comes up sort of through the middle of that loop, if that makes sense. So then you carry on and it gives a really nice sort of twisted look to the stitch, creating the stem stitch. And this stitch was used on the 2 larger leaf prints on this pattern. So I've just done this stem stitch and then realised I think I've done it in the wrong colour, but never mind, because I'm just going to reverse it. This colour should have been here, and the colour that I'm now going to do here should have been here, but it's fine. That is what you call compromise, and it's all part of crafting, and it's not a project if I haven't made one or two mistakes. So yes, just swapping these two colours around. So since I have this lovely jade green thread already in my needle, I thought I'd have a go at trying to finish some of this part. So apparently to fill these in, you need to do the fishbone stitch. To complete the fishbone stitch, I brought the needle up through the tip of the leaf and then brought it down in one single loop stitch back through the material, and then brought the needle up to the starting point but to one side. I know it's a little bit out of focus here, but bring it up one side and then bringing this down just to where that first stitch ended, just slightly past it, then bringing it back up the material at the opposite side of that starting stitch and then bringing it back down again to near the end point, if that makes sense. It should then create a really nice diagonal pattern, creating the really nice leaf pattern. You just follow the curve to give it that definition of a leaf. So these next rows are actually a straight stitch. This is what the diagram is saying. We're doing a straight stitch here. So let's get on with that one. The straight stitch is a really easy stitch. All you do is start at the end of that leaf, bringing up your needle, then bring this back down towards the end where the stem is, bringing this through, and that creates the loop slash stitch. Then you want to bring it up again towards the tip of the leaf until it is filled in completely. So it's similar to a satin stitch but a little less together, if you get what I mean. So this bit is now all done. I love how it's turned out. Look at that detailing. I'm quite impressed with my sewing skills, which is the main aim of this. I wanted to improve my hand sewing skills. So yes, now I need to repeat all this on this bit. So let's get on with that. So the two big fern pieces are now finished. The straight stitches are done up here and I think it is turning out beautifully. I love it. So next I'm going to do these fern type leaves up here like this. Now for the stems, apparently you need to do a split stitch, and then all of these little individual leaves are a straight stitch, like the ones that finished up the top here and here. So that's them ones, so let's get on with that. And it's in the mossy green embroidery thread, or floss, whatever you want to call it. The split stitch is very similar to the stem stitch, where you create a loop and then bring your needle up through the middle, making sure that you go through the middle of the threads as well before creating the next loop. I did this slightly wrong and it has gone a bit more of a stem stitch, but it doesn't lose the effect, and you just do this split stitch all the way along that stem. And then to complete these two fern stems, I use straight stitches for the leaves, again using the same technique I used for the top of the larger leaves. So all these bits of ferns are now complete, and I don't think they look too bad. I think it's turned out all right for a first attempt. So now it's just this final bit, which is going to be some straight stitches and some satin stitches. So let's get on to that. So first I created all of the stems using a straight stitch, and then at the end of each of the flower buds I created some more straight stitches just to sort of be the end of the flower that sort of encompasses the petals, if that makes sense. And then to finish off the flowers slash petals, the satin stitch is used again, which is the first stitch I use in this project, and it just fills in those petals slash flowers really nicely, and it is in a lime green colour, and it really contrasts well against those stems. So I have just cut around the edges, as it says in the instructions, about 2 centimeters. That might be a bit more. So now I just need to do a running stitch to gather this behind, and then it'll be nearly ready to hang. I love how it's turned out. Beautiful. Now the running stitch is a really easy stitch to do, and it is just simply weaving the needle in and out of the material, making sure that each stitch length is as equal to each other as possible, and maintaining the same distance from the embroidery hoop. So I just went around all of the edge for this until I came back to the start. Then I pulled the threads to gather the material up, and it brings it all nicely inwards. Just finishing this off with a few little stitches to hold this all in place and to secure the thread. I finished off the piece with a bit of ribbon tied to it, created a loop so I could hang this up, and then the hand embroidered wall art was ready.
Lightning strikes by my window, hits my chest right in the morning.
So there's how I created my embroidery wall art piece, and I think it's turned out fantastic and so much better than I thought it was going to. It did take me a little bit of time to complete. I was doing a few hours every night. I found this so relaxing to come home from work and have a go at a few stitches a night. Just, it helped me relax and cleared my mind ready for the next day. And yes, so if you're looking for something to relax you, then I would recommend something like this. And I got something beautiful out of it in the end. Now this isn't sponsored, but I will link Jenny Blair down below because her Etsy shop has a ton of different designs on them and she ships them really fast. I got mine within a few days. So yes, be sure to check out her shop as well for some more designs, or even this one that I have completed. And let me know what you think of this design in the comments below, and whether you have any embroidery tips that you could share with me so I can carry on my embroidery journey. And if you've enjoyed the video, please do give it a big thumbs up. I would so much appreciate that. And if you are not already subscribed, please do consider hitting that subscribe button to keep up with more of my crafting and creative antics. There is a new video every Sunday ranging from sewing projects and embroidery to a bit of beauty DIY and some home decor DIY type stuff with a sprinkling of travel. So there's a bit of creativeness and inspiration for you all around. So be sure to check that subscribe button if it sounds like something you would be interested in. And check out my blog as well, Ames's Antics, which is a link below, because there's a ton more information over there. There's a post for every video that comes up onto the channel, so be sure to check that out as well. And with that said, I will see you in next week's video, and I hope you have a lovely rest of your day and week, and happy crafting. Bye!